I don't, hand on heart, believe that I can deliver as strong a service from London on the West Coast, even the Central Time Zone, as I can from here.
Gotcha. And was Austin and the hipster environment there, was that the inspiration for the mustache? Or
Yeah, I think the mustache, it won't be here for too long. I don't think it was more of a mild weekend joke on my wife. She was a big fan of my beard, and I thought I'd just shock her for a moment. So
I think it looks good.
Yeah.
I think it looks good, man.
However, the reality is, you're right. I mean, if I wasn't here, I probably wouldn't have it.
Yeah,
every
exactly.
other male seems to have a moustache.
Welcome back to Eyes Wide, the podcast, where we explore ideas, challenges, and opportunities with an open mind and a relentless focus on personal and professional growth. Today, we're diving deep into the recruitment aspect of the MedTech industry with a special guest who knows this space inside and out. I'm thrilled to welcome Liam Newton to the podcast. Liam is a seasoned recruiter with Projectus, a leading talent partner in MedTech and medical device. He's been instrumental in helping professionals, and especially me, navigate the competitive landscape of medical device opportunities, and today he's here to share his expertise. Now, whether you're just starting out, looking to pivot into MedTech, or ready to level up to your next gig, Liam's insights will guide you towards success. Get ready for an insightful conversation packed with actionable advice on how to break into MedTech, stand out in interviews, and build a career in one of the most innovative and impactful industries today. Let's dive in. Liam, welcome very much to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, Craig. It's good to maybe have a relaxed conversation about something we're both passionate about without necessarily someone's livelihood at stake or someone's business at stake. It's good to connect and just shoot the wind.
Yeah, 100%. So kind of go back to the beginning between you and I. So we met probably 7-8 years ago at this point.
I think I called you. I think it was a cold call, actually.
It was a cold call.
Funnily enough, yeah.
I liked the accent. I was like, all right, this guy sounds interesting.
Well, I remember it well. You actually said, okay, well, look, listen, you've got 30 seconds, which I loved. Because I thought I only need 10, so he's given me 30. So it was nice because I'm direct and I like getting to the point. So for me, that was quite a nice opportunity to showcase what we're about. So
nice. And I think at that time, the company I was with was just looking to kind of open up a little bit broader, up and down the East Coast, I think was the target areas. Yeah. And was it, I'm going to go ahead and say his name and I can edit it out later if he doesn't like it. But were you the one that brought me Malik?
He was second.
He was second? Okay.
Yeah. He was second in a I guess a level below in terms of the job functions. I think he's still with the business. There was a role just above that. You were looking down in Florida, South Carolina, Florida region for a doer, an IC, individual contributor, that had the ability to step up and lead a team. So it was Kevin.
Oh, that's great. Okay, yes. So you brought me Kevin Ryan, which to date was one of the best hires I've ever made. And then Malik, I remember you talking to me, and yes, it was a little bit different than the type of individual we were looking for at the time. And I remember meeting him, and this is where I knew that you and I were going to have a long relationship together, because I remember the first time I spoke to him, I didn't fully get it. And then the more I got to know him and listen to him, he's someone that has been very engaging over the years. He's someone that I still keep in contact regularly with. And I'll never forget, I don't know if you ever saw this posted on social media or whatever, but I gave out a special award at our global sales meeting. It was called the Take No More Award. And it was designed for individuals that kind of personified this idea of the world's against you, or so many things are against you, just continue to stay the course. And
siege mentality.
Fight.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I remember when he received this award, and it was a no-brainer for me, because he's someone that was always just in the fight and keeping going and showing resilience. My gosh, the exchange we had was so funny when he got on stage and I gave him this award. Something that I'll never forget. So he is a really good dude. He's one
That's
of
so good to hear. It's so good to hear. The reality is, we know recruiting for sales, and we do within the whole product pipeline, but sales is and commercialization is obviously a big part of it. But it's so rewarding for us to see when you come to us with a challenge and say, look, I'm looking for someone, Kevin, for instance, and Malik I'm not just looking for people to do the job today. We're going to be a very different company in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, as the company's proven to be. You were absolutely right. It's amazing for us to see actually we made that match based on the brief, but also the personality and the I guess their future aspirations and whether they had the ability to step up and level up in their role. So it doesn't happen every time. We know that because that's how hard recruitment is. We can't guarantee that every time we make a placement. We do our absolute utmost, but we're not in control of what happens thereafter. But those are two really, really good examples, actually, of the brief being matched. And it's as much about the communication from your end because we're only as good as the brief and only as good as what's offered to us. So yeah, I'm so pleased they both made it and also are still flourishing. It's very encouraging.
So let me ask you another question. So you were so obviously everyone can hear your accent. Obviously you're a bloke from overseas. So you kind of took ownership from your company when you're in the UK, and you were going to be the outreach for the US.
Yeah. So that was back in 2017, I think. So we're going back quite a long time ago, and so we've been doing business in the US for a decent amount of time now. And I know Tim, our founder, has always had aspirations to bring the business here to the United States and have an entity, and not just an entity, but an operation, a team build. And to be frank, I knew I was the person to do it, and so did he.
Okay.
And I just needed to get my family right first. So I went back in on the Monday and said to Tim, I said, look, let's go, let's do it. And then we really like put investment behind it and set some milestones. And then as of like the beginning of last year, I've been sort of all in. I sort of stepped back from some leadership and training and coaching responsibility and just went all in on being on tools and getting back to what I did 10 years ago. And I've loved it. And here we are. We've got a small team here, but we're hiring 2 more. I mean, some people and companies have built great talent search businesses from London, and good luck to them. It wasn't for me. I mean, I did it for a year and a half, and it was having too much of an impact on my life. I don't, hand on heart, believe that I can deliver as strong a service from London on the West Coast, even the Central Time Zone, as I can from here.
Gotcha. And was Austin and the hipster environment there, was that the inspiration for the mustache? Or
yeah, I think the mustache, it won't be here for too long. I don't think it was more of a mild weekend joke on my wife. She was a big fan of my beard, and I thought I'd just shock her for a moment. So
I think it looks good.
Yeah.
I think it looks good, man.
However, the reality is, you're right. I mean, if I wasn't here, I probably wouldn't have it.
Yeah,
every other male seems to have a mustache.
So this field that we're in, MedTech, obviously it attracts a lot of people that aren't in it, want to get in it, people that are currently in it. They feel that they're of an upper echelon, so to speak, of a type of sales individual, and they're looking to maybe find a different job or maybe look to interview within their own organization to level up. But
Sure.
Can you kind of take your insight and talk through some of the unique aspects of the medtech industry and kind of talking about the technology and healthcare itself, and why is it so attractive to so many people?
Well, I think first of all, I don't think there's anything else quite like it. I mean, the world that we live in and has provided a livelihood for us is it's totally unique. So I think it's a real strong mix of a highly competitive environment mixed with life-saving technologies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it can offer a hybrid of the traditional sales and commercial career opportunities in terms of advancement, both financially and professionally, and seeing an upward trajectory in your career every year or 2 years or however often you're able to get promotions and level up. But at the same time, having a huge impact on medicine and a huge impact on how patients treated, how diseases are affected and dealt with ahead of time in terms of preventative healthcare, but also how we save lives in and out of the operating room and otherwise. So there isn't really, for me, any other industries that offer that balance. So I think it's just totally unique, Craig. And, I think people wonder what it's about, hear stories and speak to someone they went to college with that have gone on to do great things, and they just want a piece of the action. The reality is there's a lot more that goes into it than just turning up and earning money. So yeah, a real good balance of making a difference and truly advancing your career.
Yeah, I get that completely. And I was with a pacemaker company at the time, and I considered getting into some different types of sales, if you will. And I dabbled in some marketing, some advertising, and it just didn't have the same fulfillment. And I've had such a unique opportunity, especially if you're focused specifically on cardiology.
Yeah.
Being back in the early days of carvedilol and Coreg and launching to the market and having to break that out to cardiologists and heart failure doctors. And no one was using Coreg at that time. And now it's something that's used virtually every time a patient goes to a cardiologist. So I had the drug side of things, and then getting into the pacemakers and the defibrillators and that entire market. That was a generational event. Those types of devices was very impressive to be a part of. And it was, once I got into that field and that level of device interaction and patient care and patient interaction and being in the OR and being vital to the process with regard to the implantation and then the management of the device afterwards. That's a lot of responsibility. And for those people out there that I imagine have a lot of similarities to me and others in this field, where they've embraced the idea of wanting to care for people and wanting to be a part of the health industry, but maybe not wanting to go to medical school and put forth that type of investment. This is something that's a very nice step towards that, or just kind of like a middle ground to still being very much involved in the processes and providing the care for the patients without having to go through all of that schooling, and you can focus more on the business side of it as well. And the most recent venture, the baroreceptor stimulator, that was like nothing I'd ever seen to date with that, and that's something that's going to continue to grow. And it was an amazing experience to be able to launch that to the masses and build a sales team around that. And so thank you again for your efforts during that time to build a team.
Played a very small part. Very small part in the grand scheme of things. It was an incredible journey. I mean, when you think about where you were as a business when we first spoke to where you took it, it was a lot of challenge, I'm sure, put it that way. Nothing like that happens without challenge and without failure and without sacrifice. So I think, we've spoke about this before, but you should be very proud. And there's not many people that have done that. You know, when I say you, I mean, you know, your colleagues as well that were part of that journey. So it was always an impressive journey to follow, and you know, pleased and privileged to play a small part.
So let's talk about some common misconceptions about breaking into MedTech.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean, we could be all night talking about it.
How about, I would imagine there's a lot of interest among individuals that say, well, you can't interview for this job because there's prerequisites. You need to have prior MedTech experience, or you really need to have an engineering background to be able to succeed here, something along those lines.
Yeah. We start there. I mean, there's hundreds of examples of that not being the case. So it certainly helps because if you come from a engineering or biomedical engineering background or a clinical background through nursing or something that's kind of, I guess, patient-led, where you are exposed to the types of technologies and devices used in the environment you want to go and working commercially, there's no getting away from it that it's a seamless transition, and it's easier. For example, it's easy for me to pick up the phone to you, a hiring manager, and say, hey, listen, I've got a biomedical engineer that's got some experience that has exposure using X, Y, and Z products directly with the same customers that you're looking to hire an associate rep in. There's no getting away from it. It's easier that way. However, the misconception that you're referencing is that you have to come from that background in order to get in. The reality is that isn't the case, and there are other ways to get in, which I'm sure we'll get to shortly.
One of the things that I've experienced, and I would love to dive more into this side of it, and it's when you're looking to build a sales team and it's a newer product, so you're building something from the ground up.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many times that I've interviewed people, very successful people that have done really good things and impressive things at other organizations, maybe selling a little bit different type of device. But when they get into the role where they need to actually build something and be entrepreneurial, they can struggle in certain situations. So how do you as a recruiter kind of sift through and use your own kind of measurements or metrics to decide, okay, this is a person who's intended to be more for a startup and a breakthrough technology versus someone that's going to be a competitive relationship still?
Such a great question. It's a similar way that we hire for our own business. I look to delve to a couple of things. I think one, you need to really, really dig under the surface of their motivations. So, and I split that two ways. I split that, their current, and not everyone's looking for work. So the first part is open to interpretation, but if they are potentially or even semi-open, then reasons for leaving, what really digging under the surface. And and their answer one, I mean, what's your reasons for leaving? Why are you open to a new opportunity? Their first answer isn't the answer. We need to ask several questions to dig under the surface to get to the root of the problem. So I think we really, really need to understand someone's pain as to why they're looking, because I think that speaks a lot to their motivations. It's not the same, but they are intrinsically linked. And then I deal with the motivations for the next function or the next role in as much detail. So you dig really deep under the surface there as well. And then when you then have that level of understanding of their pain, but also their desire, you can then really get under the surface of whether this new opportunity and the challenges that it's going to bring are going to suit that person intrinsically. And then second to that, in terms of the screening, and when we're really digging into their experience, if they haven't already got a demonstrable track record of bringing a new product to market, because by the way, that's obviously ideal, right? If you can hire someone that's already done the work with a new clinical concept, maybe a change in clinical practice can clearly state how many new customers they brought on with that new product and X amount of growth on territory. If they haven't got that, then I'm looking for resilience.
Okay.
I'm looking to really, really understand in their career and their personal life, by the way, which, you can't do that. Well, I think that's our job, is to make them feel comfortable enough to be able to have discussions about situations in their life where they've overcome something of serious challenge.
So have you had, so I like that more than you'll ever know. And that resonates with me quite a bit. I mean, this idea of resilience, finding people that have that resiliency to them. I mean, you can kind of put them in so many different situations and opportunities and watch those types of individuals thrive, because they tend to be those that just figure things out. So I would love to hear an example, and I'm sure people listening, this would be interesting to them as well, is someone that on paper you thought was a rocket ship, an absolute rock star, grade A, and then you started interviewing them, and I'm sure you've got your go-to questions that you like to help give you information about resiliency or the types of individuals. So I want to hear an example of someone that you thought was up here, and then you ask the questions and their answers, and you just just crashed and burned hard.
Yeah, I mean, there's countless. So I'm probably struggling to think of one. I think that sometimes people have challenges in their upbringing, challenges in their education process, and there's some people, and there's no right or wrong. It's just reality. It's just life. Everyone's journey is very different, and some people are in a nice position where everything fell into place very quickly, and they didn't really have to strive for it. For whatever reason, and that's okay as well, and they can be really successful. But I'm asking questions about, I just ask directly what I want. I say, look, I'm looking for someone with resilience. Yeah. This is launching a new product and a new concept. It's amazing. The outcome is incredible, and what it will do for your career is incredible. It's going to open so many doors. The realities are that it's going to be really, really tough, and there's going to be more no's than yeses, and there's going to be more days where you look in front of the mirror and think, wow, why the hell am I doing this? Why don't I just go back to my cushy role, back in corporate, back in a company where my badge gets me through the door. Mm-hmm. And every day you're going to go home and you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to ask yourself that question. And then there'll be one day out of a month where you look in front of the mirror and think, wow, what an incredible day. And we need the person that keeps coming back. So I just ask directly and I say, listen, what examples can you give me that show how and why you're a resilient person? And someone that's truly resilient will have a list of them reeled off, because their life and their career is testament to resilience. And if they struggle to communicate those ideas, if they struggle to give examples, and I'm kind of helping them find their way, then there's probably a reason for that. So maybe I haven't answered your question, Craig.
No,
I'm sorry.
I think you did, but I actually want to get even juicier now. So,
please.
So what about, as much as I really like the point you made about they're going to have a list of things. I would imagine, though, that here's where body language and how they are and how they appear when they're answering this type of question can tell you likely more than the words coming out of their mouth. And what I mean by is, if there's someone that you see a little bit of a spark in their eye when they start talking about all of the shit that they've overcome in this life, I got to imagine that starts to translate and resonate with you and start to get you fired up as well, and gets you starting to root for this individual and believe in this individual. Am I right?
And when I believe in them, and when I can root for them, then I'll make sure they get in front of I'll make sure that you will interview them. You know that. We've had those conversations before, haven't we? I'll just make sure of it because you trust that I know what I'm doing. And if I'm telling you need to meet them, then you do. And that's the level of buy-in that I expect to have if the career history doesn't do the talking itself. And that's where the magic happens for me. That's where I can have real influence. Because the reality is, you've got to start somewhere. Just because you haven't launched a product before doesn't mean you can't. So my job is to really dig under that surface. And you're right. I think you just know. If you've been doing it long enough, you watch for the signals, you watch for the intonation in their voice, and you watch how excited they are about telling you about resilience. And I think a lot can be said for it. If you talk with confidence, if you can communicate ideas, if you can communicate and tell a story about how you overcame something comfortably without help along the way, then it's normally a good signal. So I think it's intonation, it's tone, it's a change in voice, it's body language, it's just reading people and also following us. I think there has to be a process to it though, because you can't ask the question in a different. If you're recruiting for a position, and we've got 10 people we're screening that have got to that point, I can't ask the question in a different way 10 times because I'm going to get different answers. So there has to be a process. So we have a clear qualification process that we follow, so everyone gets the same chance. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm thinking through this as you're talking. I'm just thinking of through the conversations I've had with different individuals. And I remember when the last company I was with and just starting to commercialize, and things were changing on the daily, on the regular, and you saw certain people that were okay with that and understood that. And you have certain people that it become a reason to kind of convey their failures or to kind of throw it back at you. Well, can't be successful here because of this, and this changed and that changed. And, I would hear, well, the goalpost keeps changing constantly. And that starts to become a real separator of people that kind of get a little bit fired up and just want to just figure it out. And that's having a little bit of a sickness to you that's kind of what fires you up. It's not so much about what it is you're actually selling or representing. It's about the fact that you're doing something that not many other people could do and do well and thrive. And that's what gets you fired up.
Yeah, you enjoy the pain.
Those are the people that
you enjoy the pain. You enjoy the challenge. And you want to be around those people in early stage companies because that's what makes those companies. The product can be the best in the world, but if you haven't got solution providers, if you haven't got people that are willing to try new things and approach challenges in different ways, then the product won't get anywhere, will it? It's all about people, which is
I agree.
Why we love what we do. And we face the same challenges in our game, by the way, because every single step of our process is a human interaction, and there's so many variables you have to try and control or at least get ahead of. So that's why I speak so passionately about it, because we live and breathe this stuff every day here at work as well.
I like it. So I think we can continue that piece. One of the aspects of this podcast and some other content that I put out that seems to get the most interaction, that's around the idea of interviewing, which is why it was so important to bring you on as a guest, because most initial interviews or even second interviews are going to be handled by you. So there's a lot of people, as we discussed, for reasons that are many, that want to break into the MedTech sector. From the success that you've seen and the people that you've placed, what has been more difficult to learn or teach, depending on from which perspective you're looking at? Which side of the equation is more difficult as far as a transition to success? Is it having the sales aspect, someone who's very gregarious and outspoken and able to have conversations, able to stand out in a crowd?
Yeah.
Can you teach that sort of thing if they already have this background? Or do you want to just take someone that already has those attributes, that profile, so to speak, and then teach them the other side of the business, the science, the clinical side of things? What have you seen?
Yeah, you could ask this question to different people and they'll give you different answers. All I can do is give you my perspective. And this is both for hiring for my...
That's the beauty.
For my own business.
That's the beauty of being the pro on this podcast. Your opinion matters more than anyone else's right now.
My opinion right now is the most important for the next half an hour or however long we're on here. So I'll take that opportunity. View sometimes, depending on how technical or I guess technical the products are, the answer could vary. But 9 times out of 10 for me, I think the gregariousness, the outgoing nature, the ability to communicate with different people at different levels is very difficult to train. I personally feel like that comes naturally to people through experience, through their upbringing, through their experiences, whether it be part-time or full-time ahead of college or university and during, and then everything up that follows thereafter. I would rather, and this goes for my own business, by the way, as well as hiring for medical technology companies, I think you can learn the scientific and medical aspects if you can prove there's a level of intelligence there, which is relatively, for me, not easy, but relatively okay to, for want of a better word, okay is a terrible word, but it's relatively, let's say, easy to screen for through their education and their communication skills. And I think a level of intelligence is clearly important to be able to confidently liaise and communicate and potentially influence physician.
I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of people who will be listening to this, wanting to break into the industry, feel that they're kind of up against it, this catch-22, if you will. Yeah. And something that I try to convey to anyone I speak to, anyone that I offer coaching to, it's about stand out from the crowd, show that you're intelligent, show that you have the ability to learn. There's so many attributes that you can possess that someone over here with these other things will never possess and will never learn it. And so that's why it's so important to showcase all of your talents and what you can bring to an organization. But you got to show these
sales positions in other industries. If you get the process right, make sure that there's transferable skills in terms of how you go about winning business, your outreach, the level of persons you're communicating with in terms of their education history. There are other industries, and there's numerous examples of people that have done that, have forgotten the education part and have gone down the commercial route. It's possible. It's more challenging though, and you need to know the ways in which to break in. And I'm sure we'll come to that. But networking, asking for what you want, asking advice of people that have already made that transition, just putting yourself out there, doing what you should be doing in the sales role you're applying for, but doing it ahead of time.
I like that. So Nadim Yared, 17-year CEO of CBRX, who recently retired this past year, was famous for bringing people into an organization that were a little bit different than what other organizations would do. Because what resonated the most with Nadim, and obviously I don't want to put words into his mouth, I would say from what I viewed him and what I kind of gathered from our discussions and moves that he made, was that he valued two things. Well, he valued a lot of things, but two things that he valued, put really high up there, was intelligence and a term that he used over and over and over again, curiosity. So intelligence and curiosity. And one of the quickest ways over the years I would see him lose interest in his, not opinions of someone, but his kind of feelings that this individual would do remarkable things, would be if someone came off as being a little bit of a know-it-all, or not asking questions, especially not asking questions of people that seem to be very much experts in the field, that seem to be operating at the A level of their game. He would watch, and he was always very smart in his approach to people and conversations. And it would be about, is this person curious? Do they want to learn more? Are they smart enough to understand that the learning never stops? They're never going to have everything they need to understand. They're always going to need to have the ability to learn and learn and learn, because that's the only way that you can innovate and execute and stay above the curve. And so that was something that I tried to learn from him as much as possible whenever interviewing candidates, looking for people to join my sales team or to join the organization that I'm at, is to find people that are, one, intelligence is vital, but then just curious to learn, curious to grow, curious to know, how can I be better? What can I do more of?
So when I so interesting and absolutely, and we talked about this before, in the past, haven't we? Like, classically trained techniques for me are just so pivotal. And I think for as long as salespeople have existed, asking questions and getting to the root of a problem is arguably the number one skill to have if you want to be successful, because it puts you in a better position to provide a solution and offer value. And interestingly, when I speak to candidates ahead of interviews, we can only do so much. We are here to help them through that process. And I say to them, in almost every single preparation call, on videos like this, I say, listen, you can prepare all you want, all you like in terms of the company, the products. You can be ready for any question they throw at you. There might be some competency-based stuff in there. There might be some experience and example-based questions. You can have all of the preparation you want in the world. But for me, interviews are actually won and lost as much by the questions that you ask as they are by the answers that you give. I've known people, and this is direct feedback from, clients of ours and partners of ours, again, in face-to-face or in calls like this, where they've said, Liam, like, this person lost us for the first 35 minutes. They were a hard no. And then we gave them an opportunity out of process to ask us questions. And they asked the most intelligent, well-informed questions based on research that we've had in many years. And it just opened up our perception of them as a candidate. And we'd love to see them again for a final interview. So, yeah, that skill set, that intelligence, as well as the curiosity that you referenced that Nadeem focused on, can be applied at every single level, including your first ever sales interview. Prepare excellent questions, write them down, get really comfortable asking them. Make sure they're open questions, not closed, and let the magic happen.
So can you share an account of someone that truly separated themselves from the herd, someone that really stood out? Like, what was something bold that a candidate did to really catch your eye and get you to say, okay, I'm sending you on to the next round, or I'm going to send you over to the hiring manager?
Well, in the spirit of curiosity, not many do this. I tend to take control of the screening calls and screening video calls, and I tell them what's going to happen. And I say that this is the agenda, these are the steps, and because I know it works for me and I get what I want. But it's the ones that respect that process because I called the meeting. However, then when I then go on to ask them more questions, they go, hey, wait a minute, listen, you've asked me 5 questions, Liam. I've given you my answers. I've been really open. It's your turn. And I will answer more questions. But I'm really curious about this, and this. Can you talk me through this? And I think just the ability to, because I'm quite direct in my nature, and it is deliberate. I'm quite authoritative in my approach because I know it works for me, and I get the outcomes that I need and want. And I do it with a level of rapport building, and I do it with a level of empathy. But it is kind of like, this is the way it's going to work. So I think you tend to know you're dealing with an operator when they are not afraid to
take
say,
control.
Well, look, I respect that, but also I'm gonna take an element of control here because
so it's a little bit of a jab to kind of figure out who's going to have control of this meeting, and
we enjoy it. I
like that quite a bit.
Yeah. Seems simple, doesn't it? But you'd be surprised the amount of people that don't do it and just follow my steps, which is fine, and some great amazing candidates that come through that route as well. But that's one example. I think when I call people out the blue and it's not a scheduled meeting, so that one I referenced there was a scheduled meeting where we had an agenda, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas we headhunt, we go direct to source. We just call people directly. It's not just for people like yourself, at that time in 2017, because I wanted your business, Craig. It's also, we call candidates directly that potentially work for competitors of our clients, because that's the service we offer and that's the level that we hold ourselves accountable to. So it's the persons that take the call in their stride and say, hey, listen, okay, well, let's talk. Or the people that go, well, shouldn't be taking this call and put the phone down. Like, we want people that are curious, that take the call, that say, listen, I really appreciate the call, Lee, and that information sounds excellent. I'm really happy where I am. Let's keep in touch in a month, 6 months, 12 months. And they bank that conversation because they're clever people. They know that I can help them at some point, and they know that I'm working with an excellent client with excellent technology. And they think, you know what, I'm not gonna, I guess, turn away this conversation because I haven't got the time. I'm going to give them the time it deserves because they've outreached to me directly because I may need them in the future. That's a smart person.
So for those that want to break into the industry, like, what can they be doing right now to get ahead of the curves? Or is there any certificates or training they should be looking to do to kind of keep up with current trends in the industry?
Well, there's some here in Austin that we know well, and other parts of the country. And I'm sure you understand the concept of a medical device college, medical device sales college, and there's a lot of them around the country in different regions. And I think some of them are excellent, actually. I think some of them really, really set you up from a technical standpoint to understand what a day in the life looks like. They are pretty focused on technology, and I think they give you an overview of a specific discipline within medical devices. Ahead of that, I think you need to really take a step back, and in the spirit of curiosity again, reach out to people in industry that have made similar routes.
Okay.
Ask
So do you
questions.
mean networking, like using LinkedIn and whatnot?
Yeah, I just think that a lot of people think they want to get into medical device sales and maybe haven't done the due diligence and research to determine whether it's truly for them. How many people get into it and then leave within 6 months, 12 months because it isn't quite for them? So I think before you actually throw yourself into it, can you look yourself in the mirror and go, is this really for me? Or how do I actually know that? And I'm going to reach out to as many on LinkedIn as possible. And I'm going to say, hey, can I steal you for 5 minutes? Can I steal you for 5 minutes? Can I ask you 3 or 4 questions about entrance into medical devices? And I feel like actually asking questions about what it's actually about before you throw your life into medical device sales. So I know that wasn't the question you asked, but I think
that's good.
Taking a step back and actually first asking yourself, is this truly for me?
So I've got an ask.
That's important.
I've got an ask for Mr. Liam Newton. If anyone cold contacts you through LinkedIn, but references the Eyes Wide podcast, will you have a conversation with them?
Of course. All
right, you heard it here.
Yeah, we can. I mean, if there's like 100, I might have to limit it to 5 minutes a pop. But yeah.
So what would be if you had to give someone some advice? Because you mentioned the power of someone else asking questions of you. Could you give an example of what a great question would sound like or look like that you should be asking of an interviewer?
So everyone says, this is what the average question would be, okay? What do development opportunities look like for me in this company? Average question.
Okay.
Average. No preparation required. Same question, well-researched. So, Craig, I noticed you've been with your current business for 14 years, and I noticed you've had 4 different functions in that time. You've also got a sales team with an average tenure of about 5 years. That's incredible. That tells me a lot about the business and development opportunities. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so interested in working for you. Where do you see this role from a development perspective, and where could I be in 5 years' time?
Yeah, you're hitting on a lot of levels with that. With a question of that kind of depth, you're calling to attention that you've done research on not only the person who's interviewing, but other individuals in the organization, down to the details of how long they've been there, tenure of individuals. It shows that you're doing your homework, and then it's not, to get back to your earlier point about someone who's kind of just running away from something or towards something else. It's they've done research. I have multiple opportunities. I can go to a few different companies, but I want to come here because I've done my research, and this is what I believe best suits not only my talents, but also my ambitions for growth in an industry.
Or even one step further, alongside that, Craig, I've also spoken to one of your reps. I reached out to them, and they were really thankful. They're really appreciative of me reaching out. That says a lot about the kind of culture you're building in terms of helping people. And they've given me an indication of what kind of leader you are. That's one of the reasons I took this interview, because I've had a lot of interviews this week, and you are someone I want to work for. But in your own words, what's your leadership style like? These are things which you don't need a level of education. You don't need a level of medical device or technology understanding. These are things that are within touching distance of people that are looking to get in. And if you're lucky enough to get the interview, then there are things that help you stand out. And I feel like if someone was to ask you that, you'd be pretty impressed.
It's like I tell people, even whether you're interviewing or you're in a sales situation, you're pitching someone, you're pitching another human being. You're speaking to another human being. Figure out a way to have an interesting conversation. Be enamoring, if you will, because people are ultimately going to buy from other people.
Of course.
And so if in an interview you can make humanistic, and what I mean by that, I don't even know if that's an actual word, but you can have it more. It is now. We've just coined it. But if you can make it so that people feel like you're actually having an engaging conversation and you're 2 individuals speaking to one another, it's going to separate you apart so much than someone who just hasn't done the research, hasn't done their homework, and is just blah, 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 just spewing out a bunch of different words. It's not effective.
what a lot of people forget to realize, and again, we have to try and remind people in process. And these are sometimes tenured, extremely experienced salespeople. Interviews processes are sales processes. They are back to front. Whatever you're recruiting, looking to become a regulatory director in a company, preclinical, sales director, marketing, product manager, whatever it is, it's a sales process. You're the product, and you have to do the business and research and preparation, and then delivery is critical to you getting the role. Experience plays a big part as well. But you could have all the experience in the world. If you don't perform at the interview, during the interview process, if you don't click with the people you're interviewing with, if you don't build a level of rapport and show you can manage different stakeholders, you won't get the job. So yeah, I think preparation's key, and questioning and being curious, to your point, is critical.
All right, Liam. One last question I wanted to ask, because I'm sure this is on a lot of people's minds listening to this podcast, is you're at an organization, you're generally happy, you believe that there might be an opportunity, nothing's been given to you yet. In your professional opinion, and this might be conflicting with some managers that see this, but as far as from the point of view of individuals that you could be representing,
sure,
from what you've seen, is it better to voice your desires and wants to get a promotion within an organization, to put that out there, or is it better just to find out what other opportunities there are out there, to contact someone like yourself and seek other opportunities at other organizations?
It's such a great question. So we're talking about whether we should, I guess, be open with our manager and our leadership team about our aspirations for growth, versus before we have that conversation with our manager and leadership team, go and seek what else is out there. Is that what you reference?
Sure. I think that covers. There's obviously different nuances to that, but I think that's the gist. Yes. Okay.
So yeah. So I could sit here and give numerous reasons why I'm going to sit on the fence, because every example is totally bespoke and is different. And I feel like if you don't have a good open relationship with your manager and leadership team, for whatever reason, or the company are going down, right? They've run out of money, they're struggling to raise, if it's an early stage business, or they've had some form of product recall, which makes it impossible for you to do your job. Putting those situations to one side, I'm a big this is you're speaking to someone that's only ever worked at 3 companies. One of those was 1 year, and I've been doing this almost 16 years. So my average tenure is pretty high, and I've been lucky enough to work in organizations where I've had consistent opportunities of growth. So maybe I'm biased. I think you should have a conversation with your leadership team first. And it's all about positioning. It's not going in and going, I want more, give me more, I'm leaving, because that isn't smart.
Yeah.
That isn't curious. I'm going in, and I'm in the spirit of this podcast and the spirit of curiosity, which seems to be the name of the game for this particular conversation. I'm asking questions in my review, my next review, whether that be quarterly, half yearly, or annually. What do I need to do and achieve in my current role? Because I'm passionate about delivering in my current role, by the way, that mean that I can knock on your door and get to that next level. And I'm asking questions. And then that information that's given back, again, the body language, the tone, I guess the willingness of your leadership team to engage in those conversations will tell you a lot as to whether you need to go out and seek other opportunities. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It's definitely tough. I've seen it work both ways. There was, and I'm talking from the perspective of being the individual wanting to voice wanting more, and being in a position where someone was voicing to me that they wanted more. And there's one example that I think about all the time, and I honestly don't know how better it could have been managed. And this was an individual who was 2 levels under, so his direct manager was someone who reported to me. And this individual made it known to both his manager and me that he wanted to get into a management position himself. And it was great to understand that this individual wanted to get into management, but it started to become the overall focus, or at least not even if it was a top focus, it was like this underlying thing that was always in every conversation that we had.
Yeah.
And so it started to become a little bit of a nuisance.
Sure.
And I never wanted to represent that someone coming to me with ambitions to move up, that I was viewing that as a nuisance. And so that's a really fine line and something that's very difficult. But I think there needs to be some self kind of awareness that,
of course,
it's one thing to voice it out there, and then kind of maybe if I did a better job of setting the expectation, saying, if you do this, then I will do this. Perhaps I could have done more there, but you could see that that the paths were starting to diverge because the more this individual pushed, the more it kind of pushed away and repelled his manager and in turn myself.
That's why I opened my answer with, it's about positioning. Like, it's how you position that perspective. And I think if you go and have that conversation, you need to pull yourself out of yourself and put yourself in the shoes of Craig, the leader, and think, okay, so what's Craig going to want to hear? Well, Craig has a sales target to hit, and I'm currently paid to grow sales in my territory. So I'm going to go in with the facts of what I've done for him so far, and I'm going to make it clear that when I leave that meeting, he knows that I am focused and I'm prioritizing being successful in the job I'm doing today.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also going to show him that I'm ambitious, and I'm going to ask questions about what I need to achieve in my current function to help me get there, as opposed to, I want to be a leader, time's running out, which is kind of the impression that you've given me as to what, or the impression maybe that they gave you. So it is all about positioning, and I think it's all about perception and putting yourself in the shoes of the person you're looking to get advancement from.
Man, I think that's profound.
If you need help it doesn't come naturally to everyone, but it's like anything, put yourself in the shoes of that person. Without you, he can't or she can't get to that next level. So just telling them what you want isn't going to help them get there.
Yeah, it's crazy because that person that I'm speaking of and me, like we're pretty damn close still. And he's someone that I definitely am, like, I'm saddened that we're not still working together. So maybe it's for the best that they did move on and they're in a different role and they got everything they have, because now there doesn't have to be this underlying stuff. But I truly enjoyed working with that individual. It just, the path started to diverge.
Yeah. I truly believe they could have managed that conversation in a better way, which wouldn't have necessarily guaranteed they got that promotion, but would have made you feel more comfortable batting for them.
Well, that makes sense.
So
excellent.
Positioning's everything we do. It's how we pose things, and the words that we use and the tone that we apply tends to have an effect on the outcome.
There's power in words. The way you frame things, the order you put words in can have tons of different ramifications or successes. It's crazy. Excellent.
I hope, some of our conversations and question and answers can resonate with some people at various levels within our industry. And I really appreciate you inviting me on.
I very much appreciate having you on, Liam. You're a fantastic guest. As we wrap up, I want to thank Liam for sharing his incredible insights today. MedTech is an industry full of opportunities for those willing to put in the work, build connections, and keep learning. I hope this episode has given you the tools and confidence to take your next steps. Remember, breaking into MedTech or any industry isn't just about landing the job. It's about growing into a role that challenges and inspires you. Stay bold, stay prepared, and keep your sights on the opportunities ahead. If you enjoyed this episode, do not forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone else who might find it helpful. Until next time, eyes wide. See everything. Goodbye.